Hello, my name's James Gill. I've been asked by Elsevier to have a look over their new app that they've produced given the start of the medical school year across the country called SurviveMed. The whole idea being that this is an app for first years who have just turned up at medical school, and to give them an idea about how to get through that first year and a couple of resources to help them out. It's split into 6 sections, so we've got the anatomy bare bones, anatomy flashcards, a medical dictionary, a glossary as well, Latin essentials, talking about those suffixes and prefixes, and finally just some generalised survival tips from other medical students. I actually quite like the first part of the anatomy section of the app, giving you a good overview of all the anatomical names that you're going to have to mash into your skull over the parts of this year. The flashcards are going to be 50-50. Some people will love them, other people won't really bother too much. Most people have used flashcards in the past, and let's be fair, at medical school they are exceptionally useful because of the sheer volume of vocabulary you've got to try and absorb. Looking at the other bits going through the app, we've got a medical dictionary. There's about 12,000 words here of things that you're probably going to need to know on the wards. And that sounds like a bit of an odd thing. Why bother putting that in an app when we've all got Google in our pockets? The problem is that the NHS and a lot of the hospitals, whilst they have been very good at putting Wi-Fi hotspots in these health centres, are largely based on places that have the radiolucency of a dungeon, and you are still going to find places where you can't get a signal. And it's probably at that time that you're going to be grilled by a consultant, or perhaps one of your colleagues is, and you're going to want to try and find out what a particular word means. If you've not got signal, Google's pretty much useless. So having that 12,000 word offline dictionary is going to be quite a benefit if you're trying to save yourself from sinking on a ward round. Getting your phone out to have a sneaky look at the dictionary will pay you dividends. I've been there, trust me on that one. Also trust me that not all consultants like to dine on the flesh of first years. Some are very, very nice people. It's a big misnomer that grand rounds and ward rounds are where you're going to be absolutely roasted about patient cases and questions. We're certainly going to work you there, but it's not as bad as Hollywood would have you believe. If we look at the next part of the app, you've got a glossary. And I think that's perhaps poorly named. If you search for abscess in the dictionary, you can't find it. If you search for abscess in the glossary here, there it is, with a definition underneath about what it means. So I'm not quite sure how this glossary managed to get past the app developers. Maybe the blood level in their caffeine stream was getting a bit too high, but it perhaps should have just been called dictionary number 2, or maybe all folded in together. As we go down the app, there is the Latin's essentials. You're going to deal with the different suffixes and prefixes that in the real world we don't pay much attention to, but actually at medical school are going to give you a very good idea about what the words mean. So that's going to be quite useful when it comes to starting off. At the end of the app, we've got the tips from other medical students. I would listen to those. By the time you get to your first year, you're going to find that half of the top tips that people gave you actually weren't worth the air that they used to spout them at you. Conversely, things that you had actually only given lip service to turned out to be really sound advice. So when you've got a small, concise group of tips, such as you've got at the bottom of the SurviveMed app, I would actually suggest reading them and having a think about them. Note, I'm not saying pay attention, because you might find that they're different at your medical school, but I'd certainly have a look and see whether or not they ring true or seem sensible to yourself. One area on the SurviveMed app I think that needs to be acknowledged is you don't need to sign up for this. You can download it for free and use the app. If you want to register with Elsevier, give them the details, you can do. But you don't have to do that. And I think in 2019, where people are much more cautious about their personal data, I think Elsevier needs to be promoted for not requiring you to sell your digital soul to get to the app. Okay, given that there's a group of tips in the app, I'll give you my one tip for medical school. Take food with you. Lots of food. Seriously. At medical school, you're going to do a lot more exercise, particularly on the wards, than you think you will. Seriously, getting about 12,000 steps in on a day when you're walking around the hospitals trying to find cases and things like that is not unusual. So there's my top tip. Make sure you take some food with you. That's pretty much an overview of the SurviveMed app. If you think it'll be worthwhile, I'd certainly encourage you to download it and see what you think yourself. Okay, leave it at that. Good luck.